chicken from like a kind of a fast food type of place is being factory farmed?
Well, I guess I don't really think about morals when I'm just like eating to survive. I need to stay alive, and that's my way of,
So did you get the Panda Express, this Panda Express dish, because this Panda Express dish is all you could eat to survive? Hey everyone, just before we get into the debate, I want to take a moment now to tell you about today's sponsor, which is the learning platform Brilliant. Brilliant is an interactive and engaging learning platform, which has thousands of lessons about topics such as mathematics, data analysis, programming, and more, and which have been created by an award-winning team of academics and professionals. Brilliant improves the learning process by making the lessons hands-on and engaging, meaning the lessons are enjoyable as well as effective. For example, Brilliant has a growing number of programming courses that are a great way to learn all about coding and how to use programming software, and which will give you the skills to even be able to write complex programs yourself. So to try everything that Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days and to also get 20% off an annual premium subscription, you can either click the link in my description, scan the QR code on the screen now, or go to the URL brilliant.org/earthlinged. So now let's get back to the debate at hand, but a huge thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring today's video. Hi Tyler, nice to meet you. My name is Ed. Today I'm at USC with a banner that says, "Give me your best argument for not being vegan." You're on your lunch break, which means you're eating right now, and obviously what you're eating isn't vegan, so we'll have a little chat about that, I'm sure. But what's your response to the banner in question?
I don't know. I guess I came here so I could get like more informed. Why do you think I should be vegan?
Well, because, I mean, we have a choice, don't we? And obviously by choosing to choose what you're eating right now, you've chosen to buy something that has caused someone else harm and suffering, and obviously has taken their life from them. So veganism is really about the idea that if we can make choices that reduce the suffering of others, then morally that should be the thing that we do. What do you think about that?
How does my orange chicken cause other people to suffer?
Well, I didn't say humans, but it causes others to suffer. In the case of your orange chicken, who do you think suffered for that?
Well, I guess chickens, right? But I don't even really know if this is chicken or not.
Yeah, presumably it is. So let's say that it is. Is there a moral concern to you consuming the flesh of a chicken?
No, I don't think so. I think humans, we've been doing this for thousands of years. This is how we survive. This is, obviously not everyone. I don't really see a problem with it.
Well, I guess, does the longevity of an action morally justify it continuing into the future, or does it justify it now? Just because we've done something for a long time, does that make it automatically acceptable now?
No, I don't think it does. You could look at like slavery or something. Yeah, right. But I don't know if like you could compare eating chickens to slavery.
Well, we don't need to compare them in terms of like the atrocities, as two atrocities, but more just to say, well, look, it's dangerous to say, well, hang on, we've done this for a long time, therefore it's okay to continue doing it. The logic you use to use the slavery as an example isn't to draw comparison necessarily, but to say, hey, there are implications to the logic that you've used.
Yeah. I like eating meat because it tastes good, and I just like the way it feels, I guess.
I was much the same. Do you think that the enjoyment of meat, dairy, and eggs morally justifies what happens to the animals to get those products?
I don't really know what happens to the animals in order to get the products. You want to give me an education on it a little bit?
What I would love to do is give you a couple of resources afterwards for you to kind of look into your own time. But I guess primarily, for the purposes of this conversation, we just have to acknowledge the basic foundations, right? Which is to eat the chicken that you're currently consuming, or the multiple chickens that you're currently consuming, they will have had to be killed, right? So do you think it's morally justified to unnecessarily take the life of an animal?
So obviously there's a problem with taking the life of another human, right? But that's because we have souls, or I don't know, but
I don't know. By a soul?
I don't know. When I think of a chicken, I don't think it's really I don't know if the chicken's thinking about the things that's being done to it. I think
they're experiencing the things that are being done to them.
Well, sure, I guess everybody experiences their life, and they don't really even they don't think about the way other people experience things. And I don't know if a chicken is conscious of it, and because it's not conscious of it, is it so bad if they don't even really know what's happening?
Well, they might not have an awareness of like why things are being done to them. You know, they might not. Why am I in this barn? Why am I being taken to this place? They might not have a conscious awareness of why the things are happening, but they still experience those things. They still are feeling the things that are happening to them. And I guess in terms of like what we do to others, it's not necessarily relevant the understanding they have of what's happening, but more the experience they have. You know, there are humans who might have cognitive impairments who may not be able to understand if someone's abusing them, but have an experience that is detrimental to them as a consequence of the abuse. That wouldn't make it moral, though.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think the only reason I'd really consider veganism is just like for the health benefits, which I've heard about, but. It doesn't weigh heavily on my consciousness that I'm eating this, and this was like a chicken at one point. It tastes good.
Yeah. So with that in mind, obviously there are health benefits which are great. The kind of foundation for why you're eating the chicken you're eating right now is because you enjoy how they taste. Does that mean that we are morally justified to do whatever we want to an animal as long as we find enjoyment from it? Is the enjoyment what justifies the action?
Well, I guess that's implying that we have to justify anything that we do. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if me eating the chicken is justifying like what's being done to it. I didn't do anything to it. I just bought it from the store over there. You know, Panda Express made it for me.
But why did those things happen to the chicken?
Well, once again, I don't know what's happening to the chicken.
No, that's just that they're being killed, right? Been so a chicken from like a kind of a fast food type of place is being factory farmed. That's a fact. So they've been raised in an environment where there's tens of thousands of chickens around them. They've been selectively bred to reach slaughter weight in 6 weeks, which means that they suffer from organ failure. The feces on the barn floor causes ammonia burns, which can cause blindness. You know, eyesight damage, can burn the feathers off their skin, and then they're taken to a slaughterhouse where they're hung upside down, dragged through an electrified water bath, and then have their throat cut. That's kind of like a basic summary of the things that happens to chickens and will have happened to the chickens you're currently consuming. You said that that you don't even necessarily know that you need to justify anything.
Right.
Does that not mean that we can act with impunity, that there's no consequence because we don't need to justify the things that we do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the old question, like, when you meet your maker, how will you justify the things that you've done on this earth? But I guess I could sleep at night because I'm just eating this chicken. I didn't do anything to it. I guess the farmers who dragged that chicken and electrocuted it are probably gonna have to answer.
But why are they doing that? Who are they doing that for?
They're doing it for profits, right?
Sure.
Yeah, they're making it for
And
the
who's
money.
providing them with the profits?
The consumer, myself, I guess. Yeah.
So the reason it happens is because we pay for it to happen.
Yeah.
And if we didn't pay for it to happen, it wouldn't happen.
Right. But is it not like just cheaper and a lot easier to not be a vegan?
It really depends what you're eating. I mean, you can find fast food that's plant-based, or you can go to a supermarket and spend considerably less money than you would have on the Panda Express here. So it really varies. You can be a vegan who spends a lot of money or a vegan who doesn't spend that much money. So it can work both ways.
Yeah, well, you've given me a lot to think about.
Potentially. Well, let's just bring it back to what we were saying before. If the foundation for what we do to animals is based on our enjoyment of it, are there any limitations to things that we should do to animals, regardless of how much we enjoy them? Like, are there some things that are wrong to do to animals, regardless of the enjoyment?
Yeah, I mean, like, you look like I guess it's like, if somebody over there is like torturing a dog or a cat or something, I'm gonna feel bad for it because the dog's like cute and he's looking at me, he's like, help. But if it's like a chicken, I don't know.
Not really. What's the difference? Obviously you're saying, well, I'd feel bad because you maybe empathize with the dog easier than you empathize with the chicken. But morally, is there a difference between causing harm to a dog or causing harm to a pig or a cow or a chicken or a lamb?
Spider or something.
Well, I mean, is there more? I guess with a spider, we can create somewhat of a distinction, although we shouldn't unnecessarily harm spiders. But I guess with these other animals, when we look at like their cognitive capabilities, we look at their ability to experience. There's very little in between the animals, especially between, say, pigs and cows and chickens and dogs and cats, of course. So morally, why would it be wrong for someone to beat up a dog, but for someone not to cut the throat of a chicken or a cow or a pig?
I don't think beating a dog is the same thing as slaughtering the chicken.
Would you, if you had the choice, would you rather be beaten up or would you rather have your throat cut?
I guess cut my throat, make the pain easier, yeah.
But the beating up isn't to kill you. It's just you're going to get beaten up once and then that person's going to leave you alone.
Exactly, yeah.
So you'd rather be killed than just be beaten up once?
I'd definitely rather just end it all at that point, yeah.
So for you, the notion of death is more palatable than the notion of temporary harm?
I mean, I guess it depends on how badly I'm getting beaten up, right?
Well, I would say that if someone just kicked a dog,
Sure.
punched a dog, just one kick, one punch, almost everyone here would condemn that. I don't think anyone's going to walk past and see someone kick their dog and go, oh, okay, that seems totally...
Yeah, that's...
But if the kicking of a dog, just the kick of a dog is f***ed up, then why isn't the slaughtering of these animals, the life of subjugation and fear, the confinement of the chickens you're consuming, the selective breeding of the chickens you're consuming, but ultimately the electrified water bath and also the blade across the throat. How is just kicking the dog wrong? But all of these things that have led up to the moment that we're currently at now with you eating the dismembered parts of chickens, how is that moral if just kicking a dog is f***ed up?
Well, I guess I don't really think about morals when I'm just like eating to survive. I need to stay alive, and that's my way of,
So did you get the Panda Express, this Panda Express dish, because this Panda Express dish is all you could eat to survive?
It's the most convenient thing, and I know what it tastes like, so
But I guess the reason I asked that question is it's almost a red herring, because you're not eating that because that's what you needed to eat to survive. You could have eaten a multitude of other things, anything else really, and that would also fulfill the requirements that you need to get calories at lunchtime. So this consumption right now isn't predicated on a need for survival. It's you wanted to consume that, which is why you bought it.
Yeah, like the taste of it.
Exactly. So it's not a necessity for survival. And so if the death of those chickens that you're consuming now didn't occur because it had to occur, then how is that morally justified when you could simply buy something else, which means that in the future, chickens won't have to face the same life and ultimate death that these chickens you're consuming did?
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not morally justified. I guess I'm going to hell for eating all these chickens.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we don't decide what happens. I don't believe in heaven or hell, so I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think of some eternal retribution as a consequence of the choices that we make now. But I do think that there is a moral concern around that, because fundamentally, for me, the issue of morals shouldn't be based on the fear of eternal, damnation, but more based on the fact that right now we have the ability to reduce suffering for others. And regardless of whether we go to heaven or hell is irrelevant. If we can do that, we should do it. Just because it's the right thing to do.
Well, whatever helps you sleep at night, right? So if you can go to bed at night knowing that you're morally justified in whatever you did during the day, then it's okay, right?
I mean, that helps, but ultimately, do we do this because of us, or do we do that because we can reduce harm for others? I mean, do you not beat up an old lady when you walk past her so that you can sleep better at night, or do you not beat up an old lady when you walk past her because beating up an old lady is a terrible thing to do?
Well, yeah, if I beat up the old lady, then I'd feel bad for it. But I'm not killing these chickens. I'm just eating them.
Sure, but the consumption.
I didn't kill the chicken.
No, but the purchasing of the chickens is now means that Panda Express are going to buy more chickens. So now they're going to pay the slaughterhouse for those chickens, who are going to pay the farmers to raise those chickens. It's a supply chain, and so the consumption of these chickens right now is meaning that more chickens are going to endure what they've endured as a consequence of you buying the chickens that you bought today.
Yeah, I mean. I think whether I buy the chicken or not, like the chickens will continue to be slaughtered, and if I don't buy it, or if somebody else doesn't buy it, they're just gonna throw it away, right? It's gonna go bad, and then more chickens.
But if it is the case that they can't sell these chickens, then they're going to stop breeding them. And the way to think about it is by you purchasing this, there is plant-based options that would go to waste. Every choice that we make is saying that some food is being prioritized over others. Yeah. So if you didn't buy the chicken from Panda Express and opted to buy plant-based food instead, and then enough people start to do that, which is hopefully what will happen, that sends a signal to these industries that we don't want to consume as much or any in the future. And so the system changes. But if we keep paying for it, it keeps happening. We buy, and as a consequence, they die. So that's the supply chain that exists. But we don't have to fulfill that supply chain. We can, fulfill a different supply chain and ask for a different system of food production as a consequence of that.
I think you're right.
So where does that leave you?
I'm still going to continue to buy this chicken because I like it, and
so,
like I said earlier, I guess it's like if I can go to sleep at night and not feel like I've done anything wrong by eating this Panda Express, then I think that's okay for me.
And would you use that same logic for another scenario? If someone can go to sleep at night even though they've abused a child. Does that make it morally permissible because they can go to sleep at night?
For them, maybe. Not for me.
But does that not mean, therefore, that there is no such issue when it comes to the harming of others? As long as the person perpetuating that harm can sleep at night, there should be no repercussions to the infliction of unnecessary suffering.
I guess that's like depending on who you ask. I think like people who harm children or people who are sexual predators and stuff, you could look at them like, oh, they're an evil person. Or what if they just have like a mental illness? This is something that they have to do. You know, it's not justifying it. This is something that they have to do, and they feel like they can't live without doing it. So today, in this climate where we're like preaching like mental health awareness and all that stuff, it's just like if you want to talk about if you want to compare abusing children or like the morals of abusing children and eating Panda Express, I mean, it's like,
it's not a comparison of the actions, it's the application of your logic to different scenarios. You're saying that this is fine because I can sleep at night, but the logic you've used, by implication, justifies any action as long as the perpetrator of that harm is someone who can sleep at night regardless of the harm that they've caused, which I think is dangerous.
Yeah.
So you're saying that
I don't have a moral or ethical argument against veganism. I support anyone who wants to be vegan. I just like eating meat, and that's why I'm not a vegan.
Sure.
But if there was no meat to eat, I would be a vegan.
Sure, of course you would.
Yeah.
But the consequence is now that because you're buying this, that means that other animals are going to take their place as a consequence.
So I should sacrifice my desire for eating meat so that nobody else will do the same thing, and the cycle continues. That's how it feels.
But that's what right now. But that's only because not enough people are doing it.
Right.
But if everyone who felt the same way as you, who in other words said, "Well, I wouldn't mind if the world was vegan," if everyone did that, then this would begin to stop and would begin to change.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
the only way we actually create any transition is by people who might agree on some level, actually saying, well, there is a right reason to not be buying this. There is a reason why I shouldn't necessarily be supporting these products.
Yeah.
But in the absence of doing that, then nothing will change.
Preach. Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying. I just think that maybe one day I'll have a moment where I see a chicken and I'll start to feel bad for it. I don't know. When I look at this, I just see like food and I'm hungry and I'm just
that's
not.
because that's what it looks like, food, right? And you're hungry, so that's what you see. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't look beyond what we just see on surface level. You know, we can objectify anyone, we can objectify anything, we can turn anything into a commodity. You know, we do it all the time with humans, with other animals, it doesn't matter. And then we can detach from what we're supporting with the consequence of what we're supporting. It's easy to do that, but that doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do just because we have the psychological ability to be able to perceive things without having to actually rationalize the consequence of what it is we're supporting. You know, just because you see that as being food doesn't mean that the harm inflicted by the consumption of that food doesn't exist. And so it's about looking beyond just the surface level and intellectually acknowledging that there's something else at play here other than what we see on the surface.
Well, I think I'll definitely think. I think now, after having this conversation with you, I'll definitely think more about the chickens that had to suffer for me to enjoy this Panda Express, but I think I'll continue to enjoy it. So
maybe for now. I mean, I was much the same. I used to enjoy fried chicken and enjoy medium rare steak, but then I recognized that my enjoyment of these foods isn't a good enough reason for what happens to animals to continue. You know, for the same reason that all of the things that people can do that might provide them enjoyment aren't automatically justified as a consequence of them finding them enjoyable. You know, someone might enjoy abusing a dog, beating them. Someone might enjoy, raping an animal. Someone might enjoy all of these different things, but we wouldn't say, hang on a minute, these things are permissible simply because of the enjoyment behind them. Because there's someone else, or there's an animal, there's a victim who has suffered as a consequence of that. Yeah. And that should be more important than our personal enjoyment.
I don't have anything else to add. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess, do you approach this from, will you continue because you disagree with me, or because you're just apathetic to that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I care about kids being abused. I don't like dogs being kicked, but I don't really care about chickens, I guess.
No.
I guess that's what I realize now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, do you reckon there's a hypocrisy? Remove the child abuse aspect out of it, but just more about the, the like-to-like infliction of harm on another animal.
Yeah.
Do you think there's not a contradiction at play between your...
Definitely. I have a dog bias, I guess, or
Yeah.
a cat bias. I don't really care about chickens.
And would you be apathetic to someone harming a dog or a cat? To know if, let's say, it was happening in front of us, would you do anything or would you allow it to continue?
No, I would try to stop it for sure, yeah.
And so then how would you attempt to try to stop it but then go to Panda Express after you've tried to stop it? Would there not seem to be some obvious kind of hypocrisy at play there?
No, not to me, at least. Not in my day-to-day life.
If the person you were trying to stop turned around and said, look, I enjoy it, I've just thought about it and I don't really care about dogs, would you then go, oh, actually, fair play to you, carry on?
Well, I don't think I really care about what he thinks about it. I just don't want him to hurt the dog anymore. I wouldn't ask him why he's doing it.
No.
Right?
And but then you wouldn't accept his logic as being sound for why he's doing it?
I'll be like, no, like, I respect your opinion, but stop hurting the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we see the parallel at play here?
Sure, yeah.
And if that person didn't stop them, what would happen then? Would you just, at what point do you say, does that not work the same way for us? Does that logic not seem sound for what we're trying to justify, what you're trying to justify right now? How can one be illogical but the other logical? Or are both just simply illogical?
I guess I've never had to, like, justify my food choices, like the things that I want to eat.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to answer that. But I know, like, I can't speak for anybody else besides me, but I know that if I see somebody kicking a dog, it's going to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know if me buying this and eating it is the same thing as someone kicking it in front of me. Maybe if I see it more, maybe if I lived on a farm for a summer and I saw the chickens being slaughtered, maybe I'd start to feel like, oh no, not that,
Perhaps so.
Because I just met this girl yesterday and she said she had like 7 chickens and like they gave the chickens names and stuff and they had to like kill the male chicken because he's making all this noise and stuff. I'm like, oh no. And like her sister's all attached to the chickens because they have names and stuff. I'm like, I can see that. But I guess since I don't see it, I'm ignorant to it. And
So true. It's out of sight, out of mind,
Yeah,
isn't it? And that's
yeah,
part of the problem,
yeah.
isn't it? Because we are so removed from the process, because it just comes like it does when we buy it. We don't have to think about it because, why would we? And then, as you say, it's like, hang on a minute, I've never had to justify my food choices before because we haven't. But I guess now the conversation is changing, and there is an element of awareness that's emerging about the reality of what we're supporting. And then, as a consequence of an awareness emerging, the need for justification comes as a consequence of that as well. So potentially it's something that we do need to start justifying because we are becoming more aware that there is harm involved in the process. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, thank you for this.
Yeah.
I got to go to class.
I understand.
Do you want to put in your YouTube?
Yes, please. And I'd just love to give you a couple of recommendations for
sure.
things that maybe would help you become a little bit more aware, because that's primarily it, isn't it?
Awareness, right.
Without awareness, how can we live differently? So I will give you that.